Hey beautiful people, what is up and welcome back to my channel. I am Jamila and I love all things beauty. I love all things makeup, I love all things skincare, and I especially love finding high-end and luxury beauty products at bargain prices, okay? So if you're into that, I would love if you would consider liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and just, being a part of this whole journey with me. But let's dive into today's video. So the summary title of today's video is I'll be testing out two luxury foundations for you all, and that will be Mama Pat herself and Miss Charlotte Tilbury. Now, I have been testing out Charlotte Tilbury for a couple of days now. I really enjoy it. I've done a first impressions video on Mama Pat's foundation. I really loved it as well. I will make sure and link that below. I did pick up a new shade in her foundation, which I haven't tried yet. So this is a new shade. This is MD23. So we'll see how the shade match works compared to the older one. But since I really enjoyed both of these foundations, and since both of these foundations are extremely pricey, I thought I would put them to the test and see which luxury foundation I preferred. So let's get into the video. Okay, so from a skincare perspective, my skin is already prepped. I did everything except for go in with primer because I wanted to do that with you all. And today for primer, I'm going to go in with the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. Now, this primer is what I would consider a foolproof primer in the fact that I think it works with every single foundation really well, at least all of the foundations that I've tried. And because I feel like it works and plays well with a ton of foundations, I thought it made sense to have an even base of the Hydro Grip. I do have Mama Pat's primer, but it would be an unfair advantage for me to use Mama Pat's primer with her foundation and with the Charlotte Tilbury. So we are going to go in with the Milk Hydro Grip. And I'm sorry if I seem a little bit off today, guys. My body woke up and chose violence today. I woke up with the biggest headache I could possibly have. Even right now, my head is pounding. But I needed to film, so we are going to push through with this headache. So like I said, I woke up with the craziest headache, but I was like, you know what? I am still going to film today. So I woke up, threw on my Lion King shirt, said Hakuna Matata, made myself some coffee, and was like, okay, we will do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with Pat's foundation on the left side of my face, and then I'm going to go in with Charlotte's foundation on the right side of my face. So let's jump in. I have two different damp sponges, so there will be no cross-contamination. And Charlotte's foundation has a definitely thicker consistency than Pat's. But like I said, I've been using this for a couple of days now. I really like her foundation. The shade match works really well for me. It's pretty lightweight and blends out like a dream. It looks very skin-like. So let's just blend this out. Okay, so here we have one pump of Charlotte's foundation blended out to my skin. You can see it blended really nicely. It looks very skin-like. I will say that this is definitely medium coverage. I did have two sort of acne scars, some hyperpigmentation here, and it covered it up just a little bit, but not all the way. But I'm not mad at that. I definitely prefer a more medium coverage foundation, and I like things to be more skin-like and natural looking, so this is why I love it. I don't like Charlotte because she isn't very inclusive, but her foundation is bomb.com. So on this side, I'm going to go in with Pat in Medium Deep 23. Oh my gosh, I didn't tell all y'all. And this is in the shade 12.5 Neutral. So I'm going to go in with Pat's foundation in the shade Medium Deep 23 on this side of my face. Give it a good shake. And you guys can see already how much more runny of a consistency Pat's formula is. So let's go in, clean beauty blender, and blend that out. Okay, yeah, this is a much better shade match than my previous one. I initially bought Medium Deep 26, and that one is a little bit too deep for me. It might look better in the summertime, but as you can see from the consistency of this formula, it's such a runny consistency. It's such a runny formula that even though I did pick up a deeper shade and one that was too dark for my skin tone, because it is so lightweight, I was able to blend it out and it didn't look too bad on my skin after like powder and all the other stuff that goes on top of it. But this is a much better shade match. Now I am going to go in with a little bit more of Pat's foundation because it is such a runny consistency. A lot of it I feel gets soaked into the sponge and I don't have enough product to finish my forehead. And I think that this is such a lightweight foundation that if you do want medium coverage, you have to go in with like 2 to 3 pumps to get there, compared to Charlotte's, which I think is medium from the jump. So you only really need to go in with 1 pump. So I'm going to add a little bit more, use that to finish up my forehead and give a little bit more coverage onto this side of the face. Okay, so here we have both foundations blended out. What do you guys think? Okay, so a couple of initial thoughts. So immediately, you guys probably saw from when I applied it, and I could tell from when I applied it, the Charlotte Tilbury foundation has a much thicker formulation compared to the Pat McGrath. When I applied Charlotte Tilbury, it just kind of stayed there. It wasn't running down my face. When I applied Pat, it was definitely very liquidy and very much running down my face. And because the Charlotte Tilbury has a thicker formula, I feel like it gives you more coverage. So I would say that off the jump, Charlotte Tilbury gives you medium coverage and could be builded to full coverage. On the flip side though, Pat I feel is a very light to medium coverage. I said this in my initial video. When it applies, you get a very light layer. It looks very natural, very skin-like. You can build it up to get to medium coverage, but I don't honestly think you could get any more than that without it probably looking cakey or starting to separate. Overall, I think that they both look very skin-like. I would say both of them have a more sort of satin natural finish. So it's not dewy, it's not luminous, but I wouldn't say that it's a matte finish as well. It just looks like your skin, but better, which I love, which I completely love. Now, I've worn both foundations for full days. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about how they wear, even though I won't be doing a full wear test today. Now, I do think that the Charlotte Tilbury wears a lot better. I've worn Charlotte Tilbury for a couple of days, and from what I've seen, the way you apply it is the way it pretty much looks after like an 8-hour day. You might get a little bit dewy in your T-zone. I am pretty oily in the T-zone, so that's why I saw that I was getting a little bit dewy. But overall, it still looked like a very natural, healthy glow. Pat, on the other hand, when I wore it, and again, I wore it for a couple of days as well, I did feel like my entire face got dewy. And I don't know if that's because I needed to set my face a little bit differently, but I didn't feel like it had the longest wear, and I didn't feel like it stayed in that sort of natural matte finish. I did think that I was pretty glowy at the end of the day. But I wouldn't say that it was a terrible glow. It was still a very healthy glow. So overall, I really do love how both foundations wear. Now, let's talk about the shade matches. So I do think that this new shade match that I have in Pat's foundation is a much better match for me. The Medium Deep 26, while it can work because of how lightweight that formula is and because I can really blend it into the skin and because we're going into summer and I will get a tad deeper, I think that it still is too deep for me right now. Medium Deep 23, on the other hand, I think is a much, much better shade match. On the Charlotte Tilbury side, I think that 12.5 neutral looks stunning on me. Just my opinion. I think it looks real good on me. I think it's such a beautiful shade match. I think that I can certainly wear this now in the summer and in the winter. I don't think that I would need to sort of change because I think it looks great, at least right now. When it comes to the undertone of the foundations, Charlotte is definitely a more neutral undertone, and Pat, at least in this shade Medium Deep 23, is a lot more golden. So I can see, and I hope you guys can see, that this is a little bit of a more yellow based undertone. Like I look a little bit more yellow here, whereas here I look a little bit more neutral, and I don't mind that. I have a yellow undertone, so it doesn't look bad on me. It doesn't make me look orange. I don't look like the sun. I don't look like a Cheeto, so I am not mad. And the neutral one doesn't wash me out or make me look gray. So I think that both undertones actually surprisingly work very well for me, and I can use either this more golden undertone or this more, you know, neutral, natural undertone. So these are like my very first impressions of comparing them side to side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up the rest of my face, do some other stuff, do some zhuzh, add a couple different products. I will film that for you guys, and then I'll come back and show you all what the sort of final look looks like with how all of my other products sit on top of both of these foundations. So let's go. Okay guys, and this is the final look. So you can see all of my products on top of the Pat McGrath foundation as well as the Charlotte Tilbury foundation. Now I will say off the bat that I did feel like both of these foundations played really nicely with all of my other products. I tried to use products that were not from Pat McGrath's line or from Charlotte's line so that it could be a very neutral setting, and they both worked really well. Now that everything is kind of like melded together, I don't even think you can really tell that I'm wearing two different foundations, which is the goal. So I'm very happy with how this turned out. And I will say that one thing I forgot to mention while I was talking about my first impressions of Pat is that I do find that Pat's foundation dries down a little bit darker. So even though it was extremely yellow and very golden when I first applied it, I think that it's dried down to really match sort of the shade of the Charlotte, which is why everything has kind of meshed together really nicely. And I did film this eye look separately, so if you are interested in seeing how I created this really nice sort of beautiful orange eye, that will be in another video. I'm not sure if it'll be before or after this one. If it's before, I will link it. If it's after, keep an eye out. But yeah, you guys can see how I created this look. So one thing that I do want to flag about these foundations, because I do think that they are both beautiful options. You get 1 fluid ounce in both of these. However, the Charlotte Tilbury retails for $44 and Pat's foundation retails for $68. Now you can always find a sale at Pat, so you can more likely than not get this at 30% off, which brings it down to around the price of Charlotte's foundation. So that's just something to keep in mind if you are concerned about price, as you should be, because, you know, makeup ain't cheap. Charlotte's is definitely cheaper and you do get a flawless finish, and Pat's is beautiful as well. So I don't think you really lose in buying either of these. Now, I will definitely be keeping an eye on this foundation as it wears throughout the day, and I will keep you guys posted. I hope this was helpful if you were considering which luxury foundation you want to pick up. Now, Charlotte's is definitely cheaper, so that's something to keep in mind. But both of these wear beautifully. So if you guys liked my sort of comparison of Pat and Charlotte Tilbury, make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment down below in what your favorite luxury foundation is, and I will catch you guys in my next one. Bye.